everybody, and welcome back to another video game analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Sora. Now, I wanted to talk about the Kingdom Hearts series for a long time now, but unfortunately, I didn't have any real means to record any Kingdom Hearts games at the time, but now I do, so finally get to get into that. Now, why Sora? Because he's become such a mascot character to the point where actually people hack him into Smash Brothers, and I think he's a really interesting character to look at because I think he does the best at what is seemingly a cliche thing to do with child heroes in games. So what do I mean by what cliche? Well, the thing with child heroes that seems to be a very cliche thing is the idea of the child hero having to be forced to grow up in a very quick amount of time, where similar to Ness or Lucas or Nintendo from the Earthbound series. That's just something I'm familiar with to talk about because I'm very new to the Kingdom Hearts franchise myself. I've seen Let's Plays and whatnot. This is actually the first time I'm ever playing Kingdom Hearts 1 here, as you're seeing right now, and that's something I've noticed very heavily with Sora, is he follows that trend of child heroes, where he must make choices in a very short amount of time, because he is the one that's destined to save everyone, despite the fact that he's so young. Now, I think personally Sora does this the best out of all the characters in that cliche. And in fact, I would argue that he made that cliche popular again. And cliche doesn't always mean a bad thing, like a lot of critics make it sound like. Sometimes a cliche is something that's relatable or understandable that helps you. And because I think this idea of Sora having to grow up and master not only the Keyblade but himself is a very core aspect to this game. The choices Sora makes, like the things he sacrifices, the things right in the beginning of the game, I think they make it very clear of what the intentions are in the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Because when you want a target audience of both adults and kids, I think this is a great way to do it. And that's why I think children heroes in games work so well too with that cliche, despite it not being a bad thing, but being a good thing, because it attracts both adults' understanding, in which they can look into it and say, I remember that, and I understand that. And then kids saying, you know what, I don't want to grow up so fast. And sometimes it does feel like very, very quick to grow up and having to take on such responsibility. And it's like you have to think of such decisions like this, philosophical decisions of your life. And I didn't realize there was a third kid there, so I'm going around like I could do something. I'm like, well, I better turn around. And then wait, give me a sec. There we go. There he is. All these philosophical choices of what you want to be, what kind of person you want to be, and what you want to do. This is not something a kid typically does in the span of, I don't know how long the Kingdom Hearts timeline is, up to 3, but it's not a long time, you know. It takes I mean, it's a long time. It takes a while, and you know, Sora just has the thing where he has to start an adventure that he wasn't even willing to do in the first place. Let's talk about the Keyblade for a second, because what is it? It is a sword and a key, both of which I think I'm probably looking too deeply into, but that's the point of analysis, right? The key is something that opens doors, that unlocks things, while a blade, traditionally a sword, represents a warrior, a man, if you will, back in a medieval era, a weapon, you know, something to defend, something to protect those you love, those you care about, something that defines your strength. So with those two elements together in one sword, that's what I think the allure of the Keyblade is. And there's so many themes like that they threw into the Kingdom Hearts franchise that makes it so memorable. Some people play for the gameplay, some people play for the story, and many people play for the story because it's so confusing. But you know, even the confusing element of it, that convolutedness, it's just something that you think would be simple, but it's not. It's complexity. And I know for a fact the developers didn't do this on purpose, but that complexity, that graininess, that tough to go, what the hell's going on? That is a big part of life and a big part of growing up. So get this, this bit here of footage I chose was just loading up the game, and it annoyed me how long it took. But you know, it's not all the game's fault. You know, I had to download the trophies thing from PS3, and I had to wait for it to load. But also, it's like I had to sit through the Disney Interactive and the Square Enix logos a couple of times, and I couldn't skip them. And even then, I'm probably looking too deeply into it. But then again, what's the point of analysis if I don't look too deeply into things? Looking at these logos, having to see them, I think it's something that that the developers wanted to do, where they show, hey, look at us, we're Disney and Square Enix, we have Disney movies and Final Fantasy. Now, what does Final Fantasy and Disney have in common? They are both things that are a very huge part of childhoods. I've met many men and women alike who can always go on and on about Final Fantasy, playing Final Fantasy 3, which was actually 6, playing Final Fantasy 7 was so popular. The HD remake made people go nuts. And there's that same love for the Disney movies, like The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or Hercules, because and they both were meant for children, but they both still in their own subtle way introduced these adult themes in a nice way where they could latch onto that, find understanding. And that's what I think is so great about putting Sora in the world of both Final Fantasy and Disney. Just being able to find something you can understand as that you when you were a kid to help you understand where your life is going and help you. It's like it doesn't matter if these things are fictional. It's about the message that they're trying to convey and the values you can get from them. And now not all of them are good, but I think Disney and Square Enix's Final Fantasy series is something you can definitely trust. And that's something I think they're really trying to nail on the head here.
There's just so many things you can look at like that because you know what, that's where big story-based games focus on, especially its main character Sora. And if I had to summarize it, I'd say Sora is just a kid who's trying to figure himself out, which I think that's really his character. He tries to surround himself with people he cares about, but he always loses them, whether it's his faults or other outside forces that he can't control, and he has to realize he can't control it, but he can conquer it. And that's a big theme of a lot of Kingdom Hearts games, especially the ones he stars in. It's something that makes Sora unique in today's gaming world. But every time you see a child character, even if it's like Pokemon or something, yeah, it's a silent protagonist, and the story doesn't focus on the character, but there is that overarching thing you can look at. In this case with Kingdom Hearts, it is about the character. It is about Sora going to all these worlds of familiar faces and familiar themes, and it changing who you are, trying to figure out who you are, is something that people probably do their whole life.
I think Chain of Memories, though I don't honestly personally dig the gameplay, I do find a lot of attention to the story. I think this is actually one of the most plot heavy for element games for Sora himself because he's literally opening door by door, revisiting where he's been, and he's literally trying to figure out where he's going because it may have been an outside force, but he still has forgotten what his goals were. He forgotten what to do, and because of that, he got spoiler alert. He got into a fight with Goofy and Donald, his best friends, and aside from the story, let's focus on the fact that he's hanging out with Goofy and Donald, a couple of the most recognizable characters in ever. These were cartoon characters that entertained, that made you laugh, but also had that little touch of reality behind them. I always say about cartoons is what's great about them is they're able to stretch reality and go beyond where real life can go, so you can expose reality and the sentiments behind it. The fact that Sora wants to surround himself with these as he's figuring himself out is very reminiscent to people in college or people in the workforce who like to go back to playing Pokemon or watching cartoons or you know just getting into things they used to like as a kid, spending more time with their family than they did when they were teenagers in high school because they're reverting to that place where they understand, where they feel comfortable. And it's hard to go outside of your comfort zone. I know I did a few of these things myself. I mean, look at me. Look at look at the channel I'm doing on YouTube. You know, it's like I'm going to grow up. I'm going to figure out where I'm going in life, but at the same time I need to be surrounded by people I care about, people, things I find familiar, and things I want. I think that's the basis of nostalgia, really. And that's something I think Sora, I mean, he's an alter reality and all that, but it's something we can read from Sora. Sora, as a person trying to figure himself out, trying to figure out what it is to be a man or a master of the Keyblade, he's someone that, even though he's forgotten sometimes what his goals were, he's always was very determined to go door by door to figure it out.
It's that message, I think that's where the biggest
draw into the games come from. All about what Sora's about and about him being able to relate to him, which is a really big part of interaction and immersion, which is a big part of games, especially a story-driven game. So, yeah, a lot of fun. So next time, I want to do something about a little more interesting about game society and the idea of gamers and understanding. So it sounds a little meta, but basically, I want to talk about how important it is for the gaming industry, whether you're a parent who wants to buy for their child or a gamer yourself, how important understanding is, especially on a marketing standpoint. So it'll be cool. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything I got wrong, if there's anything you'd like to add to the conversation, please do not hesitate to leave a comment. It'll also really help out if you give me a share and a like. You know the drill. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Billy, your video game analyzer. Have a good day, good night whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you next time.